Hi there, welcome to the Sunday preview for this Sunday, fourth Sunday in Lent. And it's the story of the prodigal son we have. And it's St. Luke's Gospel, chapter 15. Tax collectors and sinners were all drawing near to listen to Jesus. But the Pharisees and the scribes began to complain, saying, "This man welcomes sinners and eats with them." So to them Jesus addressed this parable. A man had 2 sons, and the younger son said to his father, "Father, give me the share of the estate that should come to me." So the father divided the property between them. After a few days, the younger son collected all his belongings and set off to a distant country, where he squandered his inheritance on a life of dissipation. When he had freely spent everything, a severe famine struck in that country, and he found himself in dire need. So he hired himself out to one of the local citizens, who sent him to his farm to tend the swine. And he longed to eat his fill of the pods on which the swine fed, but nobody gave him any. Coming to his senses, he thought, "How many of my father's hired workers have more than enough food to eat, but here am I, dying from hunger. I shall get up and go to my father, and I shall say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I no longer deserve to be called your son. Treat me as you would one of your hired workers.' So he got up and went back to his father. While he was still a long way off, his father caught sight of him and was filled with compassion. He ran to his son, embraced him, and kissed him. And the son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I no longer deserve to be called your son.' But his father ordered his servants, 'Quickly, bring the finest robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Take a fattened calf and slaughter it. Then let us celebrate with a feast, because this son of mine was dead and has come to life again. He was lost and has been found.' Then the celebration began. Now the older son had been out in the field, and on his way back, as he neared the house, he heard the sound of music and dancing. He called one of the servants and asked what this all might mean. The servant said to him, 'Your brother has returned, and your father has slaughtered the fatted calf, because he has him back safe and sound.' He became angry, and when he refused to enter the house, his father came out and pleaded with him. He said to his father in reply, 'Look, all these years I served you, and not once did I disobey your orders. Yet you never gave me even a young goat to feast on with my friends. But when your son returns, who swallowed up your property with prostitutes, for him you slaughter the fatted calf?' He said to him, 'My son, you are here with me always, and everything I have is yours. But now we must celebrate and rejoice, because your brother was dead and has come back to life again. He was lost and has been found.'" The Gospel of the Lord. Well, that's one of the great classic gospel passage that you might say sums up the entire gospel teaching of Jesus in one parable. And there's so much to say about it, but let's just focus on one or two things. I've always been fascinated by the part where the younger son only begins to turn around once he's desperate and he has no options. And even at that point where he starts to wake up and say, even my father's servants are treated better than I am. You don't see there a perfect reconciliation or a perfect contrition. It's more out of shame and desperation. And as such, it's not really born of perfect love, right? But it's enough to get started. And that in itself is a response already to the grace of God. And isn't that like the conversion of so many of us? That we started with fits and starts, and we had some backsliding, and it took a while for us to be perfectly sorry and fully realize the gravity of what we had done. But at least the younger son started walking back to his father. And I would say that line where it says, the Father saw him while he was still a long way off. The Father could see that the Son was not perfectly reconciled. He wasn't all of a sudden holy and did a 180. The Father could understand that the Son was probably kicking himself for bad investments or wasting money, wishing it hadn't gone so bad. But at least that sorrow was starting to grow in his heart. And that was enough for the Father to rush out with his mercy and his forgiveness. That the beginning of the conversion was there. And I think it's so similar to the kind of conversion so many people start with. And it's the mercy of God that they encounter that brings that to perfection. And so it's happened in our lives, and it's happening in the lives of other people. We have to welcome even that imperfect conversion. And we need to encourage it. And the second thing is the reaction of the older brother, which is so understandable and so common for us today. But this is an important lesson on what the church ought to be about. That we should be rejoicing in the return of those who are lost, that the dead have come back to life, and not be jealous of them, and not feel as if we haven't gotten everything we deserve for being faithful. We need to be magnanimous like God is magnanimous. We need to be merciful like He is. We need to welcome them just like He does. Everything we have is a grace from God. The Father says that to the Son. All I have is yours. And we should welcome those who are coming back. I think all of us need to open our hearts a little bit more